Hey, son, the smell of the Frosty machine is running, and somewhere a square patty is hitting the grill. The year is 1970, and Dave Thomas just opened a restaurant in Columbus, Ohio, that is about to change everything you thought you knew about fast food. Tonight we are talking about Wendy's, the third wheel of the burger wars, the freckled redhead who showed up late but knew exactly what she was doing. You might think you know this story, but I promise you do not. We are going deeper than the Frosty, darker than the chili, stranger than whatever is happening with their Twitter account these days. If you are enjoying this, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a subscribe if you have not already, and leave a comment telling me what your Wendy's order was back in the day. Also, this channel is now live on Spotify, so if you would rather listen while you drive or fall asleep, the link is right there in the description. I appreciate every single one of you who tune in. So here are the questions nobody is asking, but everybody should be. What did it feel like to walk into a Wendy's in 1976 when the carpet was shag and the salad bar was infinite? Why did Dave Thomas put his daughter's face on every cup and napkin like some kind of fast food cult leader? When did we stop trusting a restaurant that made the burger right in front of us and start trusting one that microwaved it in the back? And what happened to the Wendy's you remember? The one that felt a little classier, a little warmer, a little more like someone actually cared whether your burger was hot. It is 1970 now. The jukebox hums. A Chevy pulls into the parking lot. And everything is about to make sense. Let's start with Dave Thomas himself, because you cannot understand Wendy's without understanding Dave. He is not some corporate suit who bought a franchise and disappeared into a boardroom. He is a high school dropout who worked at a restaurant when he was 12, got sent to an orphanage, and clawed his way up through every greasy kitchen in America until he figured out how to do it better than anyone else. Dave was born in 1932 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. His mother died when he was 5. His adoptive father moved them around constantly, chasing work, chasing something. By the time Dave was 12, they were living in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Dave got a job at a Walgreens lunch counter. 12 years old. He worked the soda fountain, washed dishes, bussed tables. He made $12 a week and thought he was rich. He also thought, even then, that he could do this better than the people running the place. When Dave was 15, his family moved again. He told them he was staying. He quit school and kept working. Not because he was rebellious, but because the restaurant felt more like home than anywhere else ever had. The heat of the kitchen, the rhythm of the rush, the satisfaction of feeding people who were hungry and watching them leave full. That meant something to him. It meant more than algebra ever would. He worked his way through truck stops, diners, and eventually the Army, where he got assigned to cook. After his service, he bounced around until he ended up working for Colonel Sanders at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Not the cartoon version, the actual Colonel. The one who wore the white suit and yelled at people who overcooked the chicken. Dave learned how to run a restaurant from a man who cared too much, and he never forgot it. In the 1960s, Dave took over 4 failing KFC locations in Columbus, Ohio. He turned them around, made them profitable, sold them back to the company for over $1 million. He was 35 years old and could have retired. Instead, he opened a hamburger restaurant on November 15, 1969. He named it after his 8-year-old daughter. He put her face on the logo. And he decided he was going to do things his way. Dave believed in a few simple things. The burger should be hot. The meat should be fresh, never frozen. You should be able to see them making it. The customer should not feel rushed or cheated or talked down to. These were not revolutionary ideas, but in 1969, when McDonald's was already a machine and Burger King was chasing them, they felt revolutionary. Dave was not trying to build an empire. He was trying to build a restaurant. One restaurant. A good one. But it worked. It worked so well that people started asking if they could open their own Wendy's. By 1976, there were over 500 locations. By 1985, there were over 3,000. Dave became the face of the company, appearing in commercials, shaking hands at franchise openings, standing behind the counter in his cheap suit and crooked tie, reminding people that somebody still cared whether the lettuce was crispy. He never stopped being the guy who worked the lunch counter at 12. That was the part of him that never left. Even when Wendy's went public, even when it became the third largest burger chain in America, Dave still showed up. He still tasted the burgers. He still talked to the customers. Because to him, it was never about the money. It was about the work. And the work mattered. The restaurant is named after Dave's daughter, Melinda Lou, whose nickname was Wendy. But here is the part nobody tells you. She hated it. She was 8 years old when her freckled face showed up on the sign, and suddenly every kid at school knew exactly where her dad worked. That logo, the one with the red pigtails and the blue and white striped collar, was not some cartoon. It was a real child. And that child had to grow up with the entire country staring at her. Melinda Lou Thomas was born in 1961. Her siblings called her Wendy because she could not pronounce her own name when she was little. It stuck. And when Dave was trying to come up with a name for his restaurant in 1969, he thought about all the options. He could name it after himself. He could pick something generic and forgettable. Or he could name it after the person who mattered most to him. So he did. He did not ask her permission. She was 8. What 8-year-old is going to understand the implications of having their face turned into a corporate logo? Dave had an artist sketch Wendy based on a photo from 1964. Red hair and pigtails tied with blue ribbons. Striped blue and white collar. Freckles scattered across her nose and cheeks like someone spilled pepper. The image was sweet, innocent, approachable. It was also permanent. When the first Wendy's opened in Columbus, Ohio, Melinda Lou became Wendy to the entire world. Kids at school recognized her. Strangers recognized her. Everywhere she went, someone would point and say, "That is the Wendy's girl." And she could not escape it. She could not change her face. She could not change her name. She was tied to the restaurant whether she wanted to be or not. As an adult, Wendy Thomas Morse has said she is proud of the legacy. She has done commercials for the company. She has spoken at franchise events. But she has also admitted it was strange growing up as a logo. Strange to see her childhood face on every cup, every bag, every napkin. Strange to know that millions of people felt like they knew her, even though they had never met her. Strange to be famous for something she had nothing to do with. The logo has changed over the years. The pigtails got a little sleeker. The collar got simplified. But the face stayed the same. That 8-year-old girl frozen in 1964, smiling at you from the drive-thru menu, never aging, never changing, always there. In 2012, the internet noticed something. If you look closely at the current logo, the word "mom" is hidden in the collar ruffles. Wendy's claimed it was unintentional, a happy accident. But people saw it as a message, a reminder that Wendy's was supposed to feel like home, like mom's cooking, like someone who cared. Wendy herself has 4 children. None of them are named after fast food restaurants. None of them have their faces on a logo. She broke the cycle. But the original Wendy is still out there, on 10,000 signs across America, smiling that same smile, wearing that same collar, frozen in time. A real person turned into a symbol, a daughter turned into a brand. And the strangest part? It worked. People trusted that face. They still do, because it does not look corporate. It does not look calculated. It looks like somebody's kid. And that made all the difference. Walk into a Wendy's in 1971, and the first thing you notice is the burger. It is square, not round. Square. And it is hanging off the bun on all four sides, like it is trying to escape. Dave did that on purpose. He said it was because he was not cutting corners. The marketing people loved it. The customers loved it. McDonald's and Burger King, with their sad little round patties that fit perfectly inside the bun, did not love it at all. The square burger was not just a gimmick, it was a statement. Every other fast food burger came on a round bun with a round patty that fit perfectly inside, like it had been designed by someone who hated joy. You took a bite and got bun. You took another bite and got bun. By the third bite, you finally hit meat. The ratio was off. The experience was a lie. Wendy said no. We are giving you more. The meat hangs over the edge. You see it before you bite it. You know what you are getting. Dave Thomas tested different shapes before he settled on the square. He tried round. He tried oval. He tried rectangle. But the square felt right. It felt honest. And when you put a square patty on a round bun, something magical happened. The corners stuck out. You could see the beef. You could see it was real. It was not hidden. It was not apologizing for existing. It was right there, in your face, daring you to take a bite. The advertising wrote itself. Wendy's did not cut corners. Get it? The burger is square, so there are no corners to cut. It was the kind of slogan that made you groan and smile at the same time. But it worked, because it was not just about the shape. It was about what the shape represented. Transparency, honesty, more food for your money. A burger that was not trying to trick you. McDonald's and Burger King could not respond. What were they going to do? Make their burgers square too? That would be admitting Wendy's was right. So they stuck with their round patties and their perfectly portioned buns and their carefully calculated food costs. And Wendy's kept growing. Because people liked the idea that someone was giving them more than they paid for, even if it was just a few extra centimeters of ground beef. The square burger also made the kitchen different. You could not use a round grill. You needed a flat-top griddle. The patties were placed in rows, sizzling side by side, edges touching. The cook had to know when to flip them, when to pull them, when to add cheese. It was not automated. It was not foolproof. It required skill. And that meant the burger tasted different every time, depending on who was cooking it. Some people saw that as a flaw. Dave saw it as proof that real people were making real food. Over the years, Wendy's has tried to mess with the formula. They have added new burgers. They have tested different sizes. But the square patty stayed. Because it is not just a burger. It is the burger. The one that started everything. The one that proved you could be different and still win. The one that said we are not like them and we are not trying to be. When you order a Wendy's burger today, it still hangs over the bun. The corners still stick out. The beef is still fresh, never frozen, cooked on a flat-top griddle. By someone who may or may not care whether you enjoy it. But the shape is the same. The idea is the same. And if you close your eyes and take a bite, you can almost taste 1971, back when a square burger was the most rebellious thing a restaurant could do. Wendy's did not look like McDonald's. There were no plastic booths bolted to the floor, no primary color walls that made you want to eat fast and leave faster. Wendy's had carpeted floors, Tiffany-style lamps, bentwood chairs, and actual plants. It felt like someone's dining room. You could sit there for an hour and nobody would rush you. It was fast food pretending to be a real restaurant, and for a while, it worked. This was intentional. Dave Thomas did not want Wendy's to feel like a fast food joint. He wanted it to feel like a place you chose to go, not a place you settled for because you were in a hurry. So he brought in design elements that had no business being in a restaurant that sold hamburgers for under $1. Carpet. Actual carpet, not tile, not linoleum. Carpet that absorbed sound and made the room feel quieter, calmer, less frantic. The lamps were the most surprising part. Tiffany-style hanging lamps with stained glass shades in warm reds, oranges, and yellows. They gave off soft light, the kind of light that made you look better, made the food look better, made the whole experience feel a little bit fancy, even though you were eating a cheeseburger with your hands. McDonald's had fluorescent lights that buzzed and flickered and made everyone look like they were in a hospital cafeteria. Wendy's had mood lighting. The furniture was different too. Bentwood chairs, wooden tables, booths with cushioned seats that were not bolted down. You could move your chair. You could rearrange the table if you wanted. You were not trapped in a plastic shell designed to make you uncomfortable after 15 minutes. You could settle in, bring a book, spread out, stay. There were plants, real plants, or fake plants that looked real enough, hung from the ceiling in macrame holders because it was the 1970s and macrame was everywhere. The plants did not serve a function. They did not make the food taste better. But they made the room feel alive. They made it feel like someone cared about the space you were sitting in. And that mattered. The color scheme was warm. Browns, oranges, reds, earth tones. The kind of colors your grandmother had in her living room. It was cozy. It was familiar. It did not feel corporate. It did not feel like a chain. It felt like someone's house. And when you are eating fast food, feeling like you are in someone's house instead of a corporate feeding station makes a difference. This was Wendy's edge in the 1970s and 80s. You could take a date there and not feel embarrassed. You could take your grandmother there and she would not complain about the noise, or the lighting, or the lack of real silverware. You could sit in a Wendy's and feel like a person, not a transaction. That was rare. That was valuable. That was something McDonald's and Burger King could not replicate without completely redesigning their entire brand. But it was also expensive. Carpet wears out. It stains. It smells. Tiffany lamps break. Bentwood chairs get wobbly. Plants die. Maintaining that cozy living room vibe required constant upkeep, constant care, constant money. And as Wendy's expanded, as it franchised, as it tried to compete with the speed and efficiency of McDonald's, the living room started to feel like a liability. By the 1990s, the carpet started coming out. The lamps started disappearing. The bentwood chairs got replaced with plastic. The plants went away. And Wendy's started looking like every other fast food restaurant. Clean, efficient, forgettable. The warmth was gone. And with it, the thing that made Wendy's feel different. The thing that made it feel like home. In 1979, Wendy's did something that should have been illegal. They put an all-you-can-eat salad bar in a fast food restaurant. Lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, pasta salads, breadsticks, pudding, even taco toppings if you wanted to get weird with it. People lost their minds. You could pile your plate 3 feet high and nobody said a word. It was the most American thing Wendy's ever did, and it lasted for decades. The salad bar was not supposed to exist. Fast food was supposed to be fast. Controlled, portioned. You ordered a burger, they made the burger. You ate the burger, you left. There was no lingering. There was no second trip. There was certainly no unlimited access to food. But Dave Thomas saw what was happening at steakhouses and casual dining chains. They had salad bars. People loved them. Why could fast food not have one? So Wendy's built a salad bar. Not a sad little corner with iceberg lettuce and ranch dressing. A real salad bar. 10 feet long. sneeze guard, tongs, the whole thing. It had regular salad stuff, sure. Lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, onions, peppers, olives, cheese, croutons. But it also had pasta salads. Potato salad, coleslaw, cottage cheese, applesauce, breadsticks, saltines. And then, because Wendy's could not help themselves, they added a taco bar section. Seasoned beef, shredded cheese, sour cream, salsa, tortilla chips. You could build a taco salad the size of your head and no one would stop you. The price was reasonable, a few dollars, all you can eat, and people ate. They ate like it was the last salad bar on earth. They stacked plates. They made multiple trips. They brought Tupperware. Okay, maybe not Tupperware, but they thought about it. The salad bar became a destination. You did not go to Wendy's for a burger. You went for the salad bar. And maybe you got a burger, too. But the salad bar was the reason you walked in. Kids loved it because it had pudding. Chocolate pudding and vanilla pudding in little cups that you were technically supposed to take only one of. But nobody enforced that rule. Adults loved it because they could convince themselves they were eating healthy. Sure, they loaded the plate with cheese and croutons and ranch dressing and bacon bits, but it was salad. It was vegetables. It counted. The salad bar also became a social space. You stood in line with strangers. You made small talk. You watched what other people put on their plates and judged them silently. You saw someone load up on cottage cheese and thought, who eats cottage cheese at a fast food restaurant? But you did not say it out loud. You just moved down the line and grabbed your breadstick. Wendy's kept the salad bar going for years. Through the 1980s, through the 1990s, even into the early 2000s at some locations. But eventually, it became a problem. Health codes got stricter. Liability got scarier. The sneeze guard could only do so much when people were coughing directly onto the croutons. And then there was the waste. Mountains of lettuce thrown away at the end of the night. Pasta salad that sat under heat lamps for 6 hours. Pudding cups that nobody wanted once the chocolate ran out. The salad bar also did not fit the new Wendy's, the fast, efficient, modern Wendy's that wanted to compete with McDonald's on speed. You cannot be fast when people are standing at a salad bar for 10 minutes building a masterpiece out of chickpeas and shredded cheddar. So the salad bars started disappearing, quietly, one location at a time, until they were gone. Now, if you want a salad at Wendy's, you order it from the menu. It comes pre-made, pre-portioned, in a plastic container. No tongs, no sneeze guard, no second trip. It is fine. It is probably healthier. But it is not the same. It is not unlimited. It is not an experience. It is just a salad. And that is exactly the problem. The Frosty is not ice cream. It is not a milkshake. It is something in between, thick and cold and so dark brown it looks like it came from another decade. And for 40 years, there was only one flavor: chocolate. Not vanilla, not strawberry, not cookies and cream. Chocolate. If you did not like chocolate, you did not get a Frosty. That was the rule, and people respected it. The Frosty was invented by Dave Thomas in 1969, the same year Wendy's opened. He wanted a dessert that was cold and sweet, but not so sweet that it gave you a headache. He wanted something thick enough to eat with a spoon, but thin enough to drink through a straw if you were patient. He did not want it to be ice cream, because ice cream melted too fast. He did not want it to be a milkshake, because milkshakes were too heavy. So he made something in between. Something that did not quite fit in any category. Something that was just a Frosty. The recipe was simple: milk, sugar, cream, cocoa, blended together and frozen to a specific temperature that Wendy's never revealed, but everyone assumed was somewhere between soft serve and frozen custard. It came out thick, smooth, cold enough to hurt your teeth if you bit into it too fast. The color was dark, almost brown-black, like chocolate that had been left in the sun and then frozen solid. It did not look particularly appetizing, but it tasted perfect. The Frosty came in 2 sizes, small and large. Later, they added medium, but for decades it was just small and large, and the small was plenty. You did not need more than a small Frosty. It was rich. It filled you up. And if you ordered a large, you were either sharing it or you were the kind of person who ate an entire pint of ice cream in one sitting and had no regrets. People developed rituals around the Frosty. You dipped your fries in it. This was not advertised. This was not suggested. But everyone did it. The salty-sweet combination of a hot, crispy fry dipped into a cold, creamy Frosty was one of the great unspoken joys of eating at Wendy's. It was weird. It should not have worked. But it worked. And if you went to Wendy's and did not dip your fries in your Frosty, people looked at you like you were missing the point. For 40 years, the Frosty was only chocolate. People asked for vanilla. Wendy's said no. People asked for strawberry. Wendy's said no. People asked for mint, peanut butter, cookies and cream, birthday cake, pumpkin spice. Wendy's said no to all of it. The Frosty was chocolate. That was the deal. If you did not like chocolate, you could get a Coke. Then, in 2006, Wendy's caved. They introduced a vanilla Frosty. The world did not end. People ordered it. Some people liked it. But it felt like a betrayal. Because the Frosty was not supposed to have options. The Frosty was supposed to be one thing, perfect, unchanging, chocolate. Adding vanilla was like admitting that maybe the original was not enough, that maybe people wanted variety, that maybe Wendy's was just like every other place that bent to customer demands instead of standing firm on what made them different. The vanilla Frosty is fine. It tastes like vanilla soft serve. It is sweet and creamy and cold, but it is not special. It does not have the weight of 40 years of tradition behind it. It does not have the deep, almost burnt chocolate flavor that made the original Frosty feel like it came from a different era. It is just vanilla. And vanilla is boring. The chocolate Frosty is still there. You can still order it. It still tastes the same. But now it has to share the menu with vanilla. And strawberry, which they add later. And whatever limited-time flavor they are testing this month. The Frosty used to mean something. Now it is just another dessert option. Another thing you can customize. Another thing that lost its soul in the name of progress. 1984. 3 little old ladies staring at a comically oversized bun with a tiny patty inside. One of them, Clara Peller, squints and says in the most annoyed voice ever recorded, "Where's the beef?" It became the biggest ad campaign of the decade. It was on T-shirts, bumper stickers, political debates. Walter Mondale used it against Gary Hart. The phrase outlived the campaign. And Wendy sold more burgers that year than they ever had before. The ad was simple. Too simple. It opens with 3 elderly women standing at a counter labeled Big Bun, a thinly veiled parody of McDonald's and Burger King. An employee hands them a burger. The bun is enormous, fluffy, sesame seeds glistening. The women open the bun. Inside is a sad, tiny, pathetic patty, barely bigger than a hockey puck. Clara Peller, 81 years old, 4'10", with a thick Chicago accent and a face that looked like it had seen too much nonsense, leans in and says, "Where's the beef?" Her delivery was everything. It was not a question. It was an accusation. It was the voice of every person who had ever ordered a burger and felt ripped off. Every person who had ever bitten into a bun full of lettuce and air and wondered where the actual food was. Clara Peller became the voice of consumer frustration, and Wendy's became the brand that listened. The campaign was created by the advertising agency Dancer Fitzgerald Sample. They pitched it to Wendy's as a way to highlight the difference between Wendy's quarter-pound patties and the smaller burgers sold by McDonald's and Burger King. Wendy's loved it. Clara Peller was not an actress. She was a manicurist from Chicago who had done a few commercial gigs. She was cast because she looked and sounded like someone's grandmother. Someone who did not have time for nonsense. Someone who would call you out if you tried to sell her garbage. The commercial aired in January 1984. Within weeks, it was everywhere. People were saying it in grocery stores, at gas stations, at dinner tables. Kids were saying it to their parents. Parents were saying it to their kids. Walter Mondale, running for president, used it during a debate against Gary Hart, asking where the substance was in Hart's policies. The phrase transcended Wendy's. It became part of the culture. Clara Peller became a celebrity. She appeared on talk shows, award shows, made guest appearances on sitcoms. She was 81 years old and suddenly famous. Wendy's loved it at first. Then Clara did a commercial for Prego spaghetti sauce where she said, "I found it. I found the beef." Wendy's fired her. They said she violated her contract. Clara said she needed the money. The public sided with Clara. Wendy's looked petty, but the damage was done. Clara Peller and Wendy's parted ways. The campaign kept running without her. Other actresses tried to deliver the line. It was never the same. Clara Peller died in 1987 at the age of 85. The phrase outlived her. It is still referenced today. People still say, "Where's the beef?" when something is lacking substance. Politicians still use it. Comedians still use it. And every time someone says it, they are unknowingly quoting a Wendy's commercial from 1984. The campaign worked because it was true. McDonald's and Burger King did use smaller patties. They did use bigger buns to make the burger look larger. It was portion manipulation. It was marketing. And people were tired of it. Wendy's was not perfect, but they were honest about the size of their burger. The square patty hung over the bun. You could see what you were getting, and that honesty, delivered by an 81-year-old woman with no patience for nonsense, sold a lot of hamburgers. "Where's the beef?" was not just an ad campaign. It was a moment, a cultural reset. A reminder that people were paying attention, that they were not stupid, that they knew when they were being sold less and charged more. And for one brief moment in 1984, Wendy's was the brand that stood up and said, "We see it too, and we are not doing that to you." McDonald's had the clown. Burger King had the flame-broiled king. Wendy's had Dave Thomas in a cheap suit, standing in front of a grill, telling you the burger was fresh, never frozen, made to order, and if you did not believe him, you could watch them make it. It was not flashy, it was not loud, but it worked, because Dave did not feel like a mascot. He felt like your neighbor who happened to own a restaurant. The burger wars were real, not literal wars, but close enough. McDonald's dominated. They had the numbers, the reach, the infrastructure. Burger King was number 2 and trying desperately to close the gap with aggressive marketing and flame-broiled everything. Wendy's was number 3, the underdog, the scrappy upstart, and they used that position to their advantage. Wendy's could not compete with McDonald's on speed or convenience. They could not compete with Burger King on price, so they competed on quality. Or at least the perception of quality. Fresh, never frozen beef, made to order. You want no pickles? No pickles. You want extra onions? Extra onions. Wendy's positioned itself as the place that cared, the place that treated you like a person instead of a number. Dave Thomas became the face of this strategy. Starting in 1989, he appeared in Wendy's commercials, not as an actor playing a founder, but as himself. Dave Thomas, the actual guy who started the company. He wore a cheap suit. He stood in the kitchen. He held a burger. He looked directly at the camera and told you it was good. He did not try to be funny. He did not try to be cool. He was just Dave, and that authenticity was powerful. Over the next 13 years, Dave appeared in more than 800 commercials, more than any other company founder in history. He became more recognizable than Ronald McDonald. People trusted him, not because he was slick or polished, but because he was not. He looked like a guy who worked for a living. He sounded like a guy who knew what he was talking about. And when he said the burger was fresh, people believed him. The burger wars escalated in the 1990s. McDonald's launched the Arch Deluxe, a premium burger aimed at adults. It failed. Burger King launched the Big King, a direct ripoff of the Big Mac. It did okay. Wendy's kept doing what they always did. Fresh beef, square patties, Dave Thomas in a suit. It was boring. It was predictable. It was also consistent. And in a market flooded with gimmicks and limited-time offers, consistency mattered. Wendy's also went after the competition directly. The Where's the Beef campaign was a shot at McDonald's and Burger King. Later campaigns compared Wendy's fresh beef to the frozen patties used by competitors. Wendy's was not subtle. They were calling out the competition by name. McDonald's and Burger King could not respond without admitting the accusation was true. So they stayed quiet, and Wendy's kept gaining ground. But the burger wars were not just about advertising. They were about market share, store count, revenue. And on those metrics, Wendy's was always third. They never caught McDonald's. They never caught Burger King. But they carved out a space, a loyal customer base, people who wanted something different. People who remembered when fast food was not just about speed, but about someone giving a damn. By 2000, the burger wars had cooled. McDonald's was untouchable. Burger King was struggling. Wendy's was stable. The fight was over. McDonald's won. But Wendy's survived. And in an industry where most chains fail within 5 years, surviving is winning. Wendy's drive-thru in the 1980s was a different beast. The speaker was clear. The workers could hear you. Your order came out correct most of the time. You did not have to repeat yourself 4 times or pull up to the window and discover they gave you a fish sandwich when you ordered chicken. It was fast food the way it was supposed to be. Fast, accurate, and not emotionally exhausting. The drive-thru was not invented by Wendy's. It was not even invented by McDonald's. The first drive-thru was a bank in the 1930s. Fast food restaurants picked it up in the 1940s and 50s. But by the time Wendy's started building drive-thrus, in the 1970s, the technology was still terrible. The speakers were crackly, the microphones were bad, the workers could not hear you and you could not hear them. Ordering food through a drive-thru speaker was an exercise in frustration. Wendy's fixed this. Not completely, not perfectly, but better than most. They invested in clearer speakers, better microphones. They trained employees to repeat the order back to you so you could catch mistakes before you got to the window. It was simple. It was obvious. And somehow, most other chains were not doing it. The Wendy's drive-thru in the 1980s had a rhythm. You pulled up to the speaker. A voice said, "Welcome to Wendy's. May I take your order?" You ordered. They repeated it back. You confirmed. They told you the total. You pulled forward. You paid. You got your food. You checked the bag before you drove away. If something was wrong, they fixed it. The whole process took maybe 3 minutes. It was efficient. It was boring. It was exactly what it should have been. Compare that to McDonald's. You pulled up to the speaker. Static. You shouted your order. More static. You thought they heard you, but you were not sure. You pulled forward. You paid. You got a bag. You drove away. You opened the bag at home. Wrong order. Every time. Or Burger King, where the speaker was so quiet you had to turn off your car just to hear them. And by the time you finished ordering, 3 more cars were behind you, and everyone was mad. Wendy's also had a smart layout. The menu board was readable. The speaker was positioned so you did not have to lean out of your window. The drive-through lane was wide enough that you did not feel like you were going to scrape your car on the curb. These seem like small things, but when you are sitting in your car, hungry, trying to order food through a metal box, small things matter. The drive-through became a bigger part of Wendy's business through the 1980s and 90s. More people were eating in their cars. More people were in a hurry. The dining room was nice, but the drive-through was faster. And as Wendy's expanded, as they built more locations, the drive-through became the priority. Some newer Wendy's locations did not even have dining rooms. Just a drive-through, a window, a kitchen. That was it. This shift changed Wendy's. It made them faster, more efficient, but it also made them less personal. The carpeted dining room with the Tiffany lamps was where Wendy's built its identity. The drive-through was where that identity went to die. Because you cannot have a relationship with a speaker. You cannot feel at home in a drive-through lane. It is transactional. You order, you pay, you leave. There is no warmth, no connection, just food and speed. But people wanted speed. They wanted convenience. They wanted to eat in their cars while they drove to work or picked up their kids or ran errands. The drive-through gave them that. And Wendy's, for a while, did it better than anyone else. Clear speakers, accurate orders, fast service. It was not glamorous, but it worked. And in fast food, working is enough. Wendy's chili is made from the leftover burger patties that sat on the grill too long. That is not a secret. That is not a scandal. That is just what they do. They chop up the old burgers, toss them in a pot with beans and tomatoes and spices, and sell it to you for $2. And it is good, really good, better than it has any right to be. You can judge them for it, or you can eat the chili. Most people eat the chili. The chili was on the menu from day one. 1969. Dave Thomas wanted a way to use the beef that did not make it onto a burger. Burgers that got overcooked. Burgers that sat too long under the heat lamp. Burgers that crumbled when they tried to flip them. In most restaurants, that meat would get thrown away. Dave thought that was wasteful. So he made chili. The process is simple. At the end of the day, the leftover cooked burgers are collected. They are chopped into small pieces. The next day, they go into a pot with kidney beans, pinto beans, tomatoes, onions, celery, green peppers, chili powder, and a mix of spices that Wendy's has never fully disclosed. The chili simmers for hours. The beef breaks down. The flavors meld together. And what comes out is thick, hearty, and surprisingly good. People have strong feelings about this. Some people are horrified. You are eating old burgers? Burgers that were rejected? Burgers that failed? Yes. That is exactly what you are eating. But here is the thing. The beef is already cooked. It is already safe. It is not spoiled. It is not rotten. It is just beef that did not make it onto a bun. And when you chop it up and simmer it in chili for 3 hours, it does not matter that it used to be a burger. It is chili now. Other people do not care. They just want cheap, hot food that fills them up. Wendy's chili costs a couple of dollars. It comes with crackers. You can get a small or a large. The large is big enough to be a meal. The small is a side. Either way, it is a deal. And it tastes like actual chili. Not great chili. Not the kind of chili you would enter into a competition. But solid, reliable, middle-of-the-road chili that does its job. The chili also has a cult following. People who go to Wendy's specifically for the chili. People who do not even order burgers. They get a large chili, a baked potato, and a Frosty, and that is lunch. Some people mix the chili with the baked potato. Some people dip the potato in the chili. Some people are psychopaths who put the Frosty on top of the chili. All of these people exist. All of these people are happy. Wendy's has tried to make the chili more appealing over the years. They have added it to the menu as a topping for other items. Chili cheese fries, chili cheese baked potato, chili cheese nachos. All of these are exactly what they sound like. None of them are healthy. All of them are delicious in the way that only cheap, salty, greasy fast food can be delicious. The chili is also one of the few menu items that has not changed. The recipe is the same. The process is the same. The price has gone up, but not by much. In a world where everything at Wendy's has been redesigned, rebranded, and reimagined, the chili remains steady, reliable, made from leftover burgers, and people keep ordering it. Because here is the truth. Nobody cares that the chili is made from old burgers. They care that it tastes good. They care that it is cheap. They care that it is hot and filling and comes with crackers. The origin story is irrelevant. The chili is what it is. And what it is, against all odds, is one of the best things on the menu. In 1983, Wendy's started selling baked potatoes. Not fries. Potatoes. Whole ones. Hot, wrapped in foil, with butter and sour cream and chives and bacon if you wanted. It was the healthiest thing you could order at a fast food restaurant, which is not saying much, but still. You felt better about yourself eating a baked potato, even if you covered it in cheese. The baked potato was another Dave Thomas idea. He looked at the menu and saw burgers, fries, Frosties, chili. All good, all filling, all completely unhealthy. He wanted something that at least pretended to be nutritious. Something that would bring in people who were trying to watch what they ate but still wanted fast food. Something simple. So he added a baked potato. Not just any baked potato, a real one. A whole russet potato, scrubbed clean, wrapped in foil, baked in an oven until the skin was crispy and the inside was fluffy. It took longer to make than fries. It cost more. It was less profitable. But it worked. Because when you walked into Wendy's and saw a baked potato on the menu, you thought, well, at least they are trying. You could order it plain. Just the potato, foil-wrapped, steaming hot, with packets of butter and sour cream on the side. Or you could get it loaded. Cheese, bacon, sour cream, chives. All melted together into a glorious mess that defeated the entire purpose of ordering a potato instead of fries. Most people got it loaded. Because if you are going to eat at a fast food restaurant, you might as well commit. The baked potato also came with variations. The broccoli and cheese potato. Steamed broccoli, melted cheddar cheese sauce, piled on top of a hot potato. It was the kind of thing people ordered when they wanted to feel virtuous, but still wanted something that tasted like comfort food. The chili and cheese potato. Wendy's chili, the same chili made from leftover burgers, dumped on top of a potato with shredded cheese. It was a meal. A heavy, filling, carb-loaded meal that cost $3 and could sustain you for 6 hours. People loved the baked potato. Not everyone, but enough people. It became a staple, a side option, a main dish if you were trying to be good. And it separated Wendy's from the competition. McDonald's did not have baked potatoes. Burger King did not have baked potatoes. Wendy's did, and that made them different. That made them feel like a place that cared about giving you options. The potato also fit the Wendy's brand. fresh, simple, real. It was not processed. It was not formed from potato flakes and deep-fried into a shape. It was just a potato, baked, with toppings. You could see what it was, you could trust it. And in a world where fast food was getting more artificial, more complicated, more unrecognizable, a plain baked potato felt honest. But like everything else at Wendy's, the baked potato eventually became a victim of efficiency. It took too long to bake. It tied up oven space. It was not as profitable as fries. Some locations started pre-baking them and holding them under heat lamps, which defeated the purpose. A baked potato that has been sitting under a heat lamp for 2 hours is not a fresh baked potato. It is a sad, dried-out disappointment wrapped in foil. The baked potato is still on the menu. You can still order it, but it does not feel special anymore. It feels like an afterthought, a leftover from an era when Wendy's was trying to be something other than just another burger joint. And when you order one now, you wonder if anyone in the kitchen even remembers why it is there, or if they just bake it because the system says they have to. Wendy's had a chicken sandwich long before Popeyes and Chick-fil-A started their internet beef. It was breaded, fried, and served on a bun with lettuce, tomato, and mayo. It was not trying to be gourmet. It was not trying to go viral. It was just there, on the menu, doing its job. And if you ordered it, you knew exactly what you were getting. The chicken sandwich launched in the early 1980s. Chicken was becoming a thing. People were told it was healthier than beef, less fat, less cholesterol, better for your heart. Whether that was true or not did not matter. People believed it, and Wendy's wanted a piece of that market. So they made a chicken sandwich. It was simple. A breaded chicken breast fillet, fried until golden, placed on a bun, lettuce, tomato, mayo. That was it. No special sauce, no pickles, no gimmicks, just a fried chicken sandwich. It was not revolutionary, but it was solid. It tasted like chicken. The breading was crunchy. The chicken was hot. The lettuce was cold. The mayo was creamy. Everything worked. Wendy's also offered a grilled chicken sandwich for people who wanted to pretend they were making a healthy choice. The grilled version was less popular, because if you are going to eat fast food chicken, you want it fried. That is the whole point. Grilled chicken is what you eat at home when you are trying to be responsible. Fried chicken is what you eat when you are at Wendy's and you do not care anymore. The chicken sandwich was never the star of the menu. It was always the backup. The thing you ordered when you did not want a burger, but you were still at a burger place. It was dependable, boring, forgettable, and that was fine. Not everything needs to be exciting. Sometimes you just need a chicken sandwich that does not disappoint you. Then, in 2019, Popeyes launched their chicken sandwich. It went viral. People lost their minds. Lines wrapped around buildings. Fights broke out. Someone got stabbed over a chicken sandwich. It was insane. And suddenly, chicken sandwiches were a thing. A competitive thing. A cultural thing. Every fast food chain scrambled to launch their own version or promote their existing one. Wendy's already had a chicken sandwich. They had been selling it for decades, but nobody cared. Because the Wendy's chicken sandwich was not exciting. It did not have a story. It was not new. So Wendy's did what Wendy's does best. They went on Twitter and started roasting people. They made fun of Popeyes for running out of chicken. They made fun of McDonald's for taking too long to launch their version. They made fun of everyone, and people loved it. Wendy's also upgraded their chicken sandwich. They made it bigger. They made it spicier. They added a spicy version. They promoted it heavily. And it worked. Not as well as Popeyes. Not as well as Chick-fil-A. But it worked. The chicken sandwich became a legitimate menu item instead of just the thing you ordered when you did not want beef. But here is the thing. The original Wendy's chicken sandwich, the one from the 1980s, was fine. It was not special, but it was fine. And in the rush to compete with Popeyes and Chick-fil-A, Wendy's forgot that fine is sometimes enough. They made the sandwich bigger, crunchier, spicier, more complicated. And in doing so, they lost the simplicity that made it work in the first place. Now the chicken sandwich is trying too hard. It is trying to be something it is not. It is trying to compete with chains that built their entire identity around chicken. And Wendy's is a burger place. The chicken sandwich was always supposed to be the side character, the reliable friend, the backup plan. And that was okay. That was enough. But Wendy's did not think it was enough. So they changed it. And now it is just another chicken sandwich in a world full of chicken sandwiches. Nothing special, nothing memorable, just noise. In the 1990s, Wendy's got confused. They thought maybe people wanted them to be more upscale, more modern, more like a casual dining chain. So they redesigned the restaurants. They took out the carpets, the Tiffany lamps, the cozy booths. They put in hard floors, bright lights, and metal chairs. It looked like an airport. It felt like an airport, and people hated it. This was not a small change. This was a complete overhaul. Wendy's spent millions redesigning locations across the country. They wanted to look modern, sleek, clean. They wanted to shed the 1970s vibe and appeal to a younger, hipper demographic. They wanted to compete with places like Applebee's and Chili's, places that were not quite fast food, but not quite real restaurants either. So the carpet came out, the warm, sound-absorbing, slightly stained carpet that made the dining room feel like someone's house. It was replaced with tile. Hard, cold, easy-to-clean tile that echoed every sound, every footstep, every chair scrape, every conversation. The dining room went from cozy to cacophonous. You could not have a quiet meal anymore. You could not hear the person across the table from you. Everything was noise. The Tiffany lamps were replaced with recessed lighting, bright, fluorescent, institutional lighting that made everyone look washed out and tired. The kind of lighting you see in hospitals and DMVs. The kind of lighting that makes food look less appetizing and people look sicker than they actually are. The warm glow was gone. The mood was gone. What was left was harsh and clinical. The bentwood chairs and wooden tables were replaced with metal and plastic. Lighter, easier to move, easier to clean, harder to sit in for more than 15 minutes. The furniture was designed to keep you moving, to keep the turnover high, to make sure you did not linger. Because lingering is bad for business. Lingering means fewer customers per hour. And Wendy's was trying to be efficient. They also added new menu items, pita sandwiches, salads in plastic containers, wraps, things that felt more upscale, more modern, less like fast food. But the problem was, people did not go to Wendy's for pita sandwiches. They went for burgers. They went for Frosties. They went for the things Wendy's had always done well. The new items felt forced, like Wendy's was trying to be something it was not. The redesign was a disaster. Customers complained. Sales did not increase. The new look did not attract a younger demographic. It just alienated the people who had been coming to Wendy's for decades, the people who remembered the carpet and the lamps and the booths, the people who liked Wendy's because it felt different, because it felt warm, because it felt like home. Wendy's tried to course correct. They brought back some of the warmth, softer lighting, better seating. But they never brought back the carpet. They never brought back the Tiffany lamps. The damage was done. The identity was lost. Wendy's had spent decades building a reputation as the cozy, comfortable, quality alternative to McDonald's. And in one redesign, they threw it all away. The 1990s redesign taught Wendy's a lesson, or it should have. The lesson was, do not fix what is not broken. Do not chase trends. Do not try to be something you are not. But Wendy's did not learn, because 20 years later, they did the same thing again. They redesigned. They modernized. They stripped out the last bits of warmth and replaced them with exposed brick and digital menus and minimalist furniture. And once again, they lost a piece of what made them Wendy's. Wendy's has tried to do breakfast 4 separate times. Every time it failed. They sold eggs, bacon, biscuits, the whole thing. And every time people said no. Not because the food was bad, but because when you think Wendy's, you do not think breakfast. You think lunch. You think burgers. You think Frosties dipped in fries at 2 p.m. Breakfast just did not fit. The first attempt was in the 1980s. Wendy's saw McDonald's printing money with Egg McMuffins and hash browns. They thought, we can do that. So they launched breakfast. Eggs, sausage, biscuits, the works. It did not catch on. People did not come. The breakfast crowd already had McDonald's. They had their routine. They had their order. They were not looking for a new place. And Wendy's, with its square burgers and carpeted dining rooms, did not feel like a breakfast place. The second attempt was in the 1990s. Wendy's tried again. Different menu, different strategy, same result. Nobody came. The problem was not the food. The food was fine. Scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage biscuits, hash browns. Everything you would expect from a fast food breakfast. But it did not matter. Because Wendy's was not part of the morning routine. People drove past Wendy's on their way to McDonald's. They did not even think about stopping. The third attempt was in the 2000s. Wendy's tried a limited breakfast menu. Just a few items. Testing the waters. Seeing if maybe this time people would come. They did not. The breakfast menu quietly disappeared. Again. And Wendy's went back to focusing on lunch and dinner, the times when people actually wanted to eat there. Each time Wendy's tried breakfast, they lost money. A lot of money. Breakfast required new equipment, new ingredients, new staff schedules. Employees had to come in earlier. The kitchen had to be set up for eggs and bacon instead of burgers. The whole operation had to shift. And for what? Empty dining rooms, drive-thrus with no cars, a few stragglers who wandered in out of curiosity and never came back. The problem was not effort. Wendy's tried. They promoted the breakfast menu. They ran commercials. They offered deals. But they could not overcome the fundamental issue. Wendy's was not a breakfast brand. McDonald's owned breakfast. They had owned it since the Egg McMuffin launched in the 1970s. People trusted McDonald's for breakfast. They knew what they were getting. They had been getting it for decades. Wendy's was the interloper, the outsider, the burger place trying to sell eggs. There was also a logistical problem. Wendy's built its reputation on fresh, made-to-order food. That works fine for burgers. You order, they make it, you eat it. But breakfast is different. Breakfast is fast. People are in a hurry. They do not have time to wait for a made-to-order breakfast sandwich. They want it now. McDonald's had that down. Everything was pre-made or made so fast you did not notice the wait. Wendy's could not compete with that speed, and speed is everything at breakfast. So Wendy's gave up 3 times. They admitted defeat. They focused on what they were good at. Burgers, fries, Frosties, lunch and dinner. Let McDonald's have breakfast. Let them deal with the early morning rush and the egg equipment and the hash browns. Wendy's would stick to what worked. But then, in 2020, Wendy's tried again. Attempt number 4. And this time, something changed. This time, it worked. Not spectacularly, not enough to dethrone McDonald's, but it worked. People came. The breakfast Baconator sold, the breakfast menu stayed, and Wendy's finally, after 4 attempts and decades of failure, cracked the breakfast code. Or maybe people were just desperate for something different. Either way, breakfast stuck. For now. Wendy's 99-cent menu in the late 80s was the blueprint for every value menu that came after. You could get a junior bacon cheeseburger, a small Frosty, and a side of fries for under $3. It was not gourmet, but it was filling, and it was cheap. And for a generation of kids with $5 in their pocket, that was all that mattered. The value menu was born out of necessity. The late 1980s were economically rough. Recession, unemployment, people were cutting back. They still wanted fast food, but they could not afford to spend $10 on a meal. Wendy's saw an opportunity. If they could offer a full meal for under $3, people would come. So they launched the Super Value menu. The Junior Bacon Cheeseburger was the star. A smaller version of the regular bacon cheeseburger. Square patty, bacon, cheese, lettuce, tomato, mayo. On a bun. It cost 99 cents. It was not big, but it was enough. You were not leaving hungry. You were leaving satisfied. And you still had money left over. The menu also included a small Frosty for 99 cents. A small fries for 99 cents. A side salad for 99 cents. Chili for 99 cents. Everything was 99 cents. You could mix and match. Build your own meal. Spend $3 or $4 and walk out with enough food to last you the rest of the day. It was genius. It was simple. And it worked. The value menu brought in a new demographic. Teenagers, college students, people on tight budgets. People who had been priced out of fast food by the constant creep of menu prices. Suddenly, Wendy's was affordable again. Suddenly, you could eat there without feeling guilty about spending money you did not have. And people came in droves. McDonald's noticed. Burger King noticed. Within a few years, every fast food chain had a value menu. The dollar menu. The value menu. The 99-cent menu. They all copied Wendy's. Because Wendy's had figured out something important. People will always choose cheap over quality if cheap is good enough. And the Junior Bacon Cheeseburger was good enough. The value menu also changed how people ordered. Before, you ordered a combo. Burger, fries, drink. That was the standard. But with the value menu, you could customize. You could skip the drink and get 2 burgers. You could skip the fries and get a Frosty and chili. You could build a meal that actually fit what you wanted instead of what the restaurant decided you should have. It gave people control. And people liked having control. But the value menu also created a problem. It trained people to expect cheap food. Once you have eaten a 99-cent burger, paying $5 for a burger feels like a scam, even if the $5 burger is bigger and better, even if it has more toppings. The value menu set a price anchor in people's minds, and anything above that anchor felt expensive. Wendy's tried to phase out the value menu in the 2000s. They raised prices. They removed items. They wanted people to order the higher margin items, the premium burgers, the combo meals. But people revolted. They wanted the cheap food. They wanted the 99-cent Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. So Wendy's brought it back, under a different name, the Right Price, Right Size menu, then the 4 for $4 menu, then whatever they are calling it now. The name changes, but the concept stays the same. Cheap food, small portions, high volume. The value menu was Wendy's greatest innovation and its biggest curse. It brought in customers. It kept people coming back. But it also locked Wendy's into a race to the bottom. A race where the only way to win is to keep getting cheaper. And eventually, you run out of things to cut. You run out of ways to make a 99-cent burger profitable. And then you are stuck. Selling food you barely make money on to customers who will leave the moment you raise the price. That is the legacy of the value menu. Brilliant, necessary, and impossible to escape. Somewhere in the 2010s, Wendy's hired someone to run their Twitter account who did not care about being polite. They started roasting McDonald's, Burger King, and random customers who said dumb things online. It was mean. It was funny. It went viral. And suddenly, Wendy's was cool again. Not because of the food, because of the tweets. This was unprecedented. Fast food brands were supposed to be friendly, wholesome, family-friendly. They were supposed to post pictures of burgers and coupons and inspirational quotes about Mondays. They were not supposed to call people out. They were not supposed to start fights. But Wendy's did. And it worked. The Wendy's Twitter account became famous for its burns. Someone would tweet that McDonald's had better fries. Wendy's would reply with something like, "That is why you are eating cold fries while we are serving hot, fresh food." Someone would ask why Wendy's did not sell frozen beef like their competitors. Wendy's would reply, "We would rather not. Short, brutal, effective." The roasts were not random. They were strategic. Wendy's was targeting their competition. They were calling out McDonald's for frozen beef. They were mocking Burger King for pretending their burgers were flame-grilled when everyone knew they were cooked on a conveyor belt. They were pointing out the gap between advertising and reality. And people loved it. Because people love watching corporations fight. The Wendy's Twitter account also roasted regular people. Someone would tweet something dumb. Wendy's would quote tweet it with a snarky reply. The person would get embarrassed. Their friends would laugh. The tweet would go viral. And Wendy's would gain thousands of followers. It was mean. But it was funny. And on the internet, funny wins. This strategy made Wendy's relevant to a generation that did not care about burgers, Gen Z millennials. People who spent more time on Twitter than they did eating fast food. Wendy's became a meme, a brand with personality. A brand that felt less like a corporation and more like your sarcastic friend who always had a comeback. But there was a risk. The roasts only worked if they were clever. If they were mean without being cruel. If they punched up at corporations instead of down at regular people. And Wendy's, for the most part, walked that line. But there were moments when they crossed it. Moments when the roast felt too harsh. Moments when people defended the person being roasted instead of laughing at them. And in those moments, Wendy's looked less like a clever brand and more like a bully. The Twitter strategy also created a problem. It made people think Wendy's was cool. But cool does not sell burgers, at least not long term. People would follow the Twitter account. They would retweet the jokes. They would laugh at the roasts. But they would not necessarily eat at Wendy's. Because being funny on Twitter is not the same as making good food. And eventually people figure that out. Wendy's Twitter account is still active, still roasting, still going viral, but it does not feel as fresh as it used to. The roasts feel predictable. The jokes feel recycled. The whole thing feels like a shtick, because it is a shtick. And shticks get old. What worked in 2016 does not work in 2026. The internet moved on, and Wendy's is still trying to roast people. Like it is groundbreaking. The Twitter account did something important, though. It reminded people that brands can have personality, that they can be funny, that they do not have to be boring corporate robots. And for a few years, Wendy's was the funniest brand on the internet. That is worth something, even if it did not translate into sales. Even if people remember the tweets more than they remember the burgers. At least they remember something. Dave Thomas died in 2002. He was 69 years old and he had filmed over 800 commercials for Wendy's, more than any other founder in fast food history. When he died, the company lost something it never got back. It lost the guy who actually cared, the guy who showed up, the guy who made you feel like the burger mattered. Dave died of liver cancer on January 8, 2002, at his home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He had been sick for a while, but he kept working, kept filming commercials, kept showing up at franchise openings, kept being Dave, because that was who he was. A guy who worked, a guy who believed in showing up, a guy who thought that if you put your name on something, you better make sure it is good. The news hit hard, not just for Wendy's employees, for customers, for people who had grown up watching Dave on TV. He was not just a CEO. He was not just a founder. He was a presence, a reminder that someone real was behind the brand, someone who had worked his way up from nothing, someone who knew what it was like to be hungry and broke and desperate, someone who never forgot where he came from. Dave had become the face of Wendy's in 1989 when he started appearing in commercials. At first, people thought it was a gimmick, a founder playing himself. It would not last. But Dave kept showing up, year after year, commercial after commercial. He was awkward. He was not a trained actor. He stumbled over words. He looked uncomfortable in front of the camera. But that awkwardness made him believable. He was not slick. He was not polished. He was just Dave. And that was enough. Over 13 years, Dave appeared in more than 800 commercials. He became more recognizable than Ronald McDonald. People trusted him, not because he was trying to sell them something, but because he seemed like he actually believed in what he was selling. When Dave said the burger was fresh, you believed him. When Dave said they did not cut corners, you believed him. Because Dave was not an actor reading lines. Dave was the guy who built the company. And if he was willing to put his face on it, it must be good. When Dave died, Wendy's lost that trust. They tried to replace him. They hired new spokespeople. They tried different advertising strategies. But nothing worked. Because Dave was not replaceable. He was not a character. He was a person. And when he died, that person was gone. What was left was just a corporation. Just another fast food chain trying to sell burgers. Wendy's sales dipped after Dave died. Not dramatically. Not enough to kill the company. But enough to notice. People missed him. They missed seeing him on TV. They missed the reassurance that someone real was in charge. Someone who cared. Someone who would not let the quality slip because it would mean letting down the customers. Without Dave, Wendy's felt hollow, like a shell of what it used to be. The company tried to honor his legacy. They kept using his image in advertising. They referenced him in commercials. They talked about his values, his commitment to quality, his belief in fresh, never frozen beef. But it rang hollow, because Dave was not there to back it up. And without Dave, it was just marketing. Just words. Just a company trying to sell you something. Dave Thomas was buried in Columbus, Ohio, the city where he opened the first Wendy's, the city where it all started. Thousands of people attended his funeral. Employees, franchise owners, customers, people who had never met him but felt like they knew him because they had seen him on TV for 13 years. And when they lowered him into the ground, they were not just burying a man. They were burying an era. The era when Wendy's meant something, when it stood for something, when someone real was in charge. That era died with Dave, and it never came back. In the 2010s, Wendy's remodeled again. They went sleek, modern, digital, touchscreen kiosks, minimalist furniture, exposed brick. It looked like every other fast casual restaurant in America. And in doing so, they erased the last bit of what made Wendy's feel like Wendy's. The carpet was gone. The warmth was gone. The nostalgia was gone. This was the final death of the old Wendy's. The Wendy's that Dave built. The Wendy's with the Tiffany lamps and the bent wood chairs and the feeling that someone cared. That Wendy's had been dying for years. The carpet came out in the 90s. The lamps disappeared. The cozy booths got replaced with hard plastic. But there were still traces, still echoes, still enough left that if you walked into a Wendy's in 2005, you could feel the ghost of what it used to be. The 2010s remodel killed that ghost. Wendy's hired a design firm. They studied trends. They looked at what Chipotle was doing, what Panera was doing, what Five Guys was doing. They decided Wendy's needed to look modern, hip, fast casual. So they gutted the restaurants and started over. The new design was all hard surfaces, concrete floors, exposed brick walls, metal chairs, wood tables that were not actually wood, but laminate, made to look like reclaimed wood. Everything was Instagram ready. Everything was designed to photograph well, to look good in a social media post, to appeal to people who cared more about aesthetics than comfort. They added digital menu boards, bright screens with rotating images of food that looked nothing like the food you actually got. The images were professionally lit, styled, photoshopped. The burgers in the pictures were perfect. The burgers you received were not. But the menu boards looked modern. They looked high-tech. They looked like progress. They added touchscreen kiosks. You could order without talking to a person. Just tap the screen. Customize your burger. Add toppings, remove toppings. Pay with a card. Done. No human interaction required. Some people loved this. Introverts. People who hated small talk. People who did not want to repeat their order 3 times because the cashier could not hear them. But other people hated it because ordering from a kiosk is cold, transactional. It removes the last bit of humanity from fast food. The remodel also standardized everything. Every Wendy's looked the same. The same exposed brick, the same metal chairs, the same concrete floors, the same digital menu boards. There was no personality, no local flavor, no sense that this Wendy's was different from the one 2 towns over. It was corporate, efficient, reproducible, everything Dave Thomas had tried to avoid. The new design was not bad. It was clean, it was modern, it was functional. But it was not Wendy's. It was generic. It was what every fast casual restaurant looked like. And in trying to look like everyone else, Wendy's lost the thing that made it different, the thing that made it special, the thing that made people choose Wendy's over McDonald's or Burger King. The remodel was expensive, millions of dollars per location. Franchise owners complained. Some of them could not afford it. Some of them went into debt to pay for it. And for what? So the restaurant could look like a Chipotle? So it could appeal to people who were going to order through the app anyway and never step inside. The 2010s remodel was the final erasure, the final betrayal, the final proof that Wendy's had given up on being Wendy's. They were chasing trends, copying competitors, trying to be something they were not. And in the process, they destroyed the last connection to the past, the last reminder of what Wendy's used to be. Now, when you walk into a Wendy's, you could be anywhere. And that is exactly the problem. Wendy's changed their fries in 2010. They went from the old thin-cut fries to thicker skin-on, sea-salted fries. People rioted. Not actual riots, but internet riots. Because the old fries were bad, but they were Wendy's bad. They were familiar bad. The new fries were trying too hard. And when fast food tries too hard, people notice. The old Wendy's fries were terrible. Everyone knew it. They were thin. They were limp. They got soggy within minutes. They did not hold up in the bag. By the time you got them home, they were cold and sad, and you ate them anyway because you paid for them, but you were not happy about it. They were the worst fries in fast food. McDonald's had better fries. Burger King had better fries. Even Arby's had better fries. And Arby's is a roast beef place. But the old fries were Wendy's fries. They were part of the experience. You knew what you were getting. You accepted it. You worked around it. You ate them in the parking lot while they were still hot. You dipped them in your Frosty. You covered them in ketchup. You made it work. Because the fries were not the reason you went to Wendy's. The burger was the reason. The Frosty was the reason. The fries were just there. In 2010, Wendy's decided enough was enough. They were tired of having the worst fries. They were tired of people complaining. They were tired of finishing last in every French fry ranking. So they redesigned the fries. Completely. From scratch. They tested dozens of versions. They brought in focus groups. They studied McDonald's fries. They studied Five Guys fries. And they came up with something new. The new fries were thicker, cut from whole potatoes, skin left on, sprinkled with sea salt. They were supposed to taste natural, rustic, premium, like the kind of fries you would get at a gastropub, not a fast food restaurant. Wendy's promoted them heavily. Natural cut fries with sea salt, hot and crispy, better than ever. They were confident. They were sure people would love them. People did not love them. People hated them. The new fries were too thick, too potato-y. The skin was weird. The sea salt was too salty. They did not taste like fast food fries. They tasted like someone was trying to make fast food fries fancy. And nobody wanted fancy fries. They wanted McDonald's fries. Or fries that tasted like McDonald's fries. They did not want rustic, skin-on, sea-salted fries from Wendy's. The internet exploded. People complained on Twitter, on Facebook, on Reddit. They wanted the old fries back, even though the old fries were bad, even though everyone had complained about the old fries. Now that the old fries were gone, people missed them, because the old fries were familiar. They were consistent. They were Wendy's. The new fries were trying to be something else. And people did not go to Wendy's for something else. Wendy's did not bring the old fries back. They doubled down. They insisted the new fries were better. They ran more commercials. They gave away free fries. They tried to convince people that the new fries were good. And eventually, people stopped complaining. Not because they liked the new fries, but because they got used to them, because complaining did not change anything, because Wendy's was not going back. The fry change taught Wendy's a lesson, or it should have. The lesson was, people do not always want better. Sometimes they just want familiar. Sometimes they want the thing they have always had, even if it is not great. Because familiarity is comforting. Change is scary. And when you change something people have eaten for 30 years, they are going to be mad. Even if the change is an improvement, even if the new version is objectively better, people do not care. They want what they know. And Wendy's took that away from them. Wendy's discontinued their spicy chicken nuggets. Then people on Twitter demanded they bring them back. And Wendy's listened. They brought them back. It was the first time in fast food history that a menu item returned because of a social media campaign. And it worked. The nuggets sold out in days. Wendy's learned that the internet has power, and also that people really, really like spicy food. The spicy chicken nuggets launched in 2010. They were breaded chicken nuggets with a spicy seasoning. Not too spicy, just enough to have a kick. They were different from the regular nuggets. They had flavor. They had personality. People liked them, but they were not a huge seller. They were a niche item, a cult favorite, the kind of thing some people loved, but most people ignored. In 2017, Wendy's discontinued them. Quietly. No announcement, no explanation. They just disappeared from the menu. And for a while, nobody noticed. Then people started asking, where did the spicy nuggets go? Why did Wendy's get rid of them? What were they supposed to order now? The questions turned into complaints. The complaints turned into demands. Bring back the spicy nuggets. The campaign started on Twitter. A few people tweeting at Wendy's, asking for the nuggets. Then more people. Then thousands of people. The Wendy's Twitter account, famous for its roasts and snarky replies, stayed quiet. They did not acknowledge the requests. They did not confirm or deny anything. They just let it build. Then, in May 2019, someone tweeted at Wendy's, "Bring back spicy nuggets." Wendy's replied, "If this gets 2 million likes, we will bring them back." It was a challenge, a dare, a way to see if people actually wanted the nuggets or if they were just complaining. For the sake of complaining, the tweet went viral. People retweeted it. Celebrities retweeted it. Chance the Rapper retweeted it. Within weeks, it hit 2 million likes. Wendy's kept their promise. In August 2019, the spicy chicken nuggets came back, nationwide, promoted heavily. People lost their minds. They went to Wendy's specifically for the nuggets. They ordered them by the bucket. They posted pictures on social media. They celebrated like Wendy's had cured cancer. It was absurd. It was beautiful. It was the internet at its best. The nuggets sold out almost immediately. Wendy's locations ran out of spicy nuggets within days. Some locations within hours. People were mad. They had waited 2 years for the nuggets to come back, and now they could not get them. Wendy's scrambled to restock. They increased production. They prioritized the spicy nuggets over everything else, and eventually supply caught up with demand. The spicy nugget comeback was a turning point. It proved that social media campaigns could work, that people on the internet were not just trolls and complainers, that they could mobilize, that they could force a corporation to change its mind. And it proved that Wendy's was listening, that they were willing to admit they made a mistake, that they were willing to give people what they wanted. But it also set a precedent. Now, every time Wendy's discontinues a menu item, people demand it back. Bring back the pretzel bun. Bring back the Sawsum sauce. Bring back the salad bar. And Wendy's has to decide, do we listen or do we ignore them? Do we bring everything back or do we stand firm? Because if you bring everything back, nothing is special. Nothing is limited. Nothing is worth campaigning for. The spicy chicken nuggets are still on the menu. For now. They could disappear again. Wendy's could discontinue them, wait a few years, and bring them back to massive fanfare. Because that is the game now. Discontinue, wait, bring back, repeat. It is manufactured scarcity. It is nostalgia bait. And it works. Because people will always want the thing they cannot have, even if that thing is just a spicy chicken nugget. For a brief moment in 2013, Wendy's sold burgers on pretzel buns. It was a limited time thing. The buns were thick, salty, soft, and completely wrong for a burger. But people loved them anyway. Then they disappeared. And now, every few months, someone on Reddit asks when they are coming back. They are not coming back. let it go. The pretzel bun launched in July 2013. Wendy's marketed it as a premium option, a way to elevate the burger experience. The bun was dark brown, twisted, covered in coarse salt crystals. It looked like a soft pretzel from a mall food court. It tasted like one too. Doughy, salty, dense. When you put a burger on it, the whole thing became a structural nightmare. The bun was too thick. It overpowered the beef. You took a bite and got mostly bread. The burger-to-bun ratio was completely off, but people did not care. They loved it. Because it was different. Because it was weird. Because it felt special. Limited time offers always feel special. You know they are not going to last. You know you have to try them now or you will miss out. So people tried the pretzel bun. They posted pictures of it. They argued about whether it was good or terrible. And then, after a few months, it was gone. Wendy said it was always meant to be temporary. A limited time offer. A test. A way to see if people wanted something different. And people did want it, but not enough to make it permanent. Because here's the thing about the pretzel bun. It was a novelty. The first time you ate it, it was interesting. The second time, it was okay. The third time, you realized it was just too much bread. The pretzel bun was not sustainable. It was a gimmick, and gimmicks do not last. But the internet does not forget. Every few months, someone posts on Reddit or Twitter, "Remember the pretzel bun? Why did Wendy's get rid of it?" And the comments flood in. People who loved it, people who hated it, people who never tried it but wish they had. The pretzel bun has become a myth, a legend, the thing that got away. And the longer it stays gone, the better it gets in people's memories. Wendy's has brought back other limited-time items, the spicy nuggets, certain sauces, special burgers. But they have never brought back the pretzel bun. And they probably never will, because the pretzel bun was a mess. It was too salty, too thick, too complicated. It did not fit the Wendy's brand. It was trying too hard to be something Wendy's was not. But that does not stop people from asking, from begging, from starting petitions. Bring back the pretzel bun. There are Facebook groups dedicated to it, Twitter accounts that tweet about it daily, Reddit threads that analyze why Wendy's will not bring it back and what it would take to change their mind. The pretzel bun has become bigger in death than it ever was in life. The truth is, most of the people demanding the pretzel bun never actually liked it that much. They liked the idea of it. They liked that it was different. They liked that it was limited. And now that it is gone, they like that it represents a time when Wendy's was willing to take risks, when they were willing to try something weird, when they were not just another fast food chain doing the same thing as everyone else. The pretzel bun incident taught Wendy's that limited time offers create obsession, that scarcity creates demand, that people want the thing they cannot have more than they want the thing that is always available. And Wendy's has used that lesson. They launch limited time items constantly now. New burgers, new sauces, new flavors. They stay for a few weeks. They disappear. People beg for them to come back. Some do. Most do not. But none of them have captured the internet's imagination like the pretzel bun. None of them have become a meme, a symbol, a rallying cry for people who want Wendy's to be weird again. The pretzel bun is gone. It is not coming back, but it will never be forgotten. And maybe that is better than being permanent. Maybe being a memory is more powerful than being on the menu. Maybe the pretzel bun won by losing. Wendy's always said their beef was fresh, never frozen. It was their whole identity. But somewhere along the way, fresh stopped being special. Every fast casual place started saying they were fresh. Five Guys, Shake Shack, Smashburger. Suddenly, Wendy's was not unique anymore. They were just one more place claiming they cared about quality. And people stopped believing it mattered. Fresh, never frozen was Wendy's tagline for decades. It was what separated them from McDonald's and Burger King. Those chains used frozen patties, shipped from warehouses, stored in freezers, cooked from frozen. Wendy's did not do that. Their beef came in fresh. It was refrigerated, not frozen. It was shaped into patties on site or delivered fresh daily. It was a real difference, a meaningful difference. And for years, people cared. But then the fast casual movement happened. Chipotle opened and said their ingredients were fresh. Panera said their bread was baked fresh daily. Five Guys said their burgers were made to order with fresh beef. Shake Shack said the same thing. Smashburger said the same thing. Suddenly, fresh was not special. Fresh was the baseline. Fresh was what you were supposed to do. And Wendy's, which had been shouting about fresh beef since 1969, was no longer pioneering. They were just keeping up. The problem was not that Wendy's stopped using fresh beef. They did not. The beef is still fresh, still never frozen. That part did not change. What changed was the market, the competition, the expectations. In the 1980s, fresh beef at a fast food restaurant was revolutionary. In 2020, it was expected. And Wendy's did not know how to compete in a world where everyone was doing what they had always done. Wendy's tried to double down. They launched campaigns emphasizing the fresh beef. They ran commercials showing refrigerators full of beef instead of freezers. They challenged competitors. They asked McDonald's why they did not use fresh beef. McDonald's ignored them, because McDonald's did not need fresh beef. They had the golden arches. They had brand loyalty. They had speed and convenience and a menu that had been the same for 50 years. Fresh beef did not matter to McDonald's customers, and it barely mattered to Wendy's customers anymore either. The other problem was that fresh beef is harder. It is more expensive. It requires more infrastructure, more deliveries, more refrigeration, more labor. Frozen beef is easy. You pull it out of the freezer. You cook it. Done. Fresh beef requires coordination, timing, waste management. If the beef does not sell, you throw it away. You cannot freeze it. That is the whole point. So fresh beef is a logistical challenge. And in an industry built on efficiency and cost control, fresh beef is a liability. Wendy's also could not prove it mattered. Sure, fresh beef tastes better than frozen beef, in theory. But does it actually taste better in a fast food burger covered in ketchup, mustard, pickles, onions, and cheese? Can you actually tell the difference? Wendy said yes. Food critics said yes. But most customers? They could not tell. Or they did not care, because they were eating at Wendy's. They were not expecting gourmet. They were expecting fast, cheap, and good enough. And frozen beef is good enough. The rise of the fast casual chains also hurt Wendy's in another way. Those chains were not just fresh. They were better. The burgers at Five Guys were bigger. The burgers at Shake Shack tasted better. The burgers at Smashburger had more flavor. Wendy's was stuck in the middle. More expensive than McDonald's. Not as good as Five Guys. Fresh beef. But so what? Everyone had fresh beef now. Wendy's had lost their edge, and they did not have a backup plan. Fresh beef had been the core of Wendy's identity for 40 years. It was what Dave Thomas built the company on. It was the one thing Wendy's could point to and say, "This is why we are different." But when different becomes normal, you are not different anymore. You are just another option. And in fast food, being just another option is death. Because people choose McDonald's. They choose familiarity. They choose the thing they have always chosen. And Wendy's, with their fresh beef and their square patties and their history, became the place you went when McDonald's was too crowded. The backup plan, the afterthought, the place that used to matter. In 2020, Wendy's tried breakfast again, and this time it worked. Maybe it was the pandemic. Maybe people were desperate for something new. Maybe Wendy's finally figured out how to make breakfast not feel like a Wendy's betrayal. Either way, the breakfast Baconator is real, and it is massive, and it is selling. Wendy's launched breakfast nationwide in March 2020, right before the world shut down. It was terrible timing, or perfect timing, depending on how you look at it. The pandemic hit. People stopped commuting. They stopped going out for breakfast. They stopped doing everything. Wendy's had just spent hundreds of millions of dollars launching breakfast. New equipment, new ingredients, new training, new marketing, and suddenly, nobody was coming. But Wendy's did not give up. They kept the breakfast menu. They promoted it. They adapted. They pushed the drive-thru. They offered deals. And slowly, people came. Not the morning commuters. Those people were working from home now. But other people. People who wanted something different. People who were tired of McDonald's. People who saw a commercial for the Breakfast Baconator and thought, I need to try that. The Breakfast Baconator is exactly what it sounds like. A Baconator. For breakfast. Sausage patty, bacon, egg, cheese, on a bun. It is massive. It is greasy. It is over 1,000 calories. It is everything a breakfast sandwich should not be. And people love it. Because it does not pretend to be healthy. It does not pretend to be a smart choice. It is a Baconator. At 7 in the morning. Take it or leave it. Wendy's breakfast menu is not trying to be McDonald's. That was the mistake the first 3 times. Wendy's tried to copy McDonald's. Egg sandwiches, hash browns, biscuits. The same stuff McDonald's had been selling since the 1970s. And people did not want that from Wendy's. They already had McDonald's. They did not need Wendy's trying to be McDonald's. This time, Wendy's leaned into being Wendy's. They offered the Breakfast Baconator. They offered a Frosty Kino, which is a Frosty mixed with coffee. They offered breakfast versions of their regular menu items. It was weird. It was Wendy's. And it worked. Because people were not looking for another Egg McMuffin. They were looking for something different. And Wendy's finally gave them something different. The pandemic also helped in a strange way. People were stuck at home. They were bored. They wanted novelty. They wanted to try new things. And Wendy's breakfast was new. It was something to talk about, something to post about, something to break up the monotony of quarantine. So people tried it, and enough of them liked it that they came back. Wendy's also learned from their mistakes. They did not overinvest. They did not build the breakfast menu into some massive operation that would sink the company if it failed. They kept it simple. A handful of items, nothing too complicated, nothing that required equipment they did not already have. They made breakfast fit into the existing Wendy's operation instead of trying to rebuild the operation around breakfast. The breakfast menu is still there. 3 years later, still selling. The Breakfast Baconator is still on the menu. The Frosty Kino is still there. Wendy's did not give up this time. They did not pull the plug after 6 months. They committed. And it paid off. Not enough to challenge McDonald's. McDonald's still owns breakfast. But enough to matter. Enough to be profitable. Enough to justify the investment. Wendy's breakfast success is not about the food. The food is fine. It is not revolutionary. It is not going to win awards. But it is different enough. Weird enough. Wendy's enough. And that is what people wanted. They did not want Wendy's to be McDonald's. They wanted Wendy's to be Wendy's. And for the first time in decades, Wendy's listened. They stopped trying to be something they were not. They stopped chasing McDonald's. They just did their thing. And people showed up. Not everyone, but enough. And in fast food, enough is winning. Here is the truth. Wendy's is not failing. It is still the third largest burger chain in America. It still makes billions of dollars a year. But it is not the Wendy's you remember. The carpet is gone. Dave is gone. The salad bar is gone. The warmth is gone. What is left is efficient, clean, modern, and indistinguishable from every other fast food place that is trying to be something it is not. The numbers are fine. Wendy's has over 6,000 locations. Revenue is up. Stock price is stable. Franchises are opening. The business is healthy. But the soul is missing. The thing that made Wendy's feel different. The thing that made you choose Wendy's over McDonald's even though McDonald's was closer and faster and cheaper. That thing is gone, and it is never coming back. Walk into a Wendy's today and try to find the past. Try to find the carpeted floors, the Tiffany lamps, the bentwood chairs, the salad bar, the warmth. You will not find any of it. What you will find is concrete floors, metal furniture, digital menu boards, touchscreen kiosks, exposed brick that is not really brick, but a textured panel made to look like brick. Everything is designed to look modern, clean, Instagrammable, and completely soulless. The menu is bigger than it used to be. More options, more customization, more limited time offers. But the core is the same. Burgers, fries, Frosty, chicken. The things Wendy's has always sold. Except now they are not special. Because everyone sells burgers. Everyone has fries. Everyone has chicken. The square patty is still there. The fresh beef is still there. But it does not matter. Because fresh is not special anymore. Square is not special anymore. Wendy's is not special anymore. The company has tried to adapt. They launched mobile ordering. They partnered with delivery apps. They redesigned the drive-thru to be faster. They added breakfast. They hired someone to roast people on Twitter. They did everything a modern fast food chain is supposed to do. And it worked. The business is fine. But fine is not the same as good. Fine is not the same as meaningful. Fine is not the same as mattering. The problem is not that Wendy's changed. Change is inevitable. The problem is that Wendy's changed into nothing. They stripped away everything that made them Wendy's and replaced it with generic fast casual blandness. They could have evolved while keeping their identity. They could have modernized while staying warm. But they did not. They chose efficiency over soul. They chose profit over personality. They chose being like everyone else over being themselves. Dave Thomas built Wendy's on a simple idea. Make good food, treat people right, and do not cut corners. For decades that worked. Wendy's was the place that cared. The place that was a little nicer, a little warmer, a little more human. But caring is expensive. Warmth is inefficient. Being human does not scale. So Wendy's stopped caring. They stopped being warm. They stopped being human. And they became just another fast food chain. The people who remember the old Wendy's are getting older. The people who sat in the carpeted dining room with the Tiffany lamps. The people who piled their plates high at the salad bar. The people who watched Dave on TV and believed him when he said the burger was fresh. Those people are disappearing. And the new generation does not know what they are missing. They do not know Wendy's used to be different. They think Wendy's has always been like this. Cold, corporate, efficient. And maybe that is better. Maybe it is easier to accept what Wendy's is now if you never knew what it used to be. But for those of us who remember, there is a sadness, a loss, a recognition that something good is gone and it is never coming back. Wendy's is not failing, but it is also not Wendy's. Not really. It is a company that shares the name, that uses the logo, that sells the burgers. But the heart is missing. The thing that made it matter. The thing that made it worth caring about. That is gone. And no amount of Twitter roasts or breakfast baconators or pretzel bun nostalgia can bring it back. Wendy's used to mean something. It used to mean Dave Thomas cared enough to put his daughter's face on the logo. It used to mean you could sit in a carpeted dining room and feel like you were not just eating fast food, you were eating somewhere that respected you. It used to mean fresh, hot, made to order, no shortcuts. And now it just means a place that sells burgers. That is not Wendy's fault. That is ours. We stopped caring. So they did too. We are the ones who chose speed over quality. We are the ones who ordered through apps instead of walking inside. We are the ones who stopped sitting in the dining room and started eating in our cars. We are the ones who made it clear that we did not care about carpet or lamps or warmth. We just wanted food, fast and cheap, and Wendy's gave us what we wanted. We voted with our wallets. Every time we chose McDonald's because it was faster. Every time we chose Burger King because it was cheaper. Every time we skipped Wendy's because the drive-through line was too long. We told Wendy's that the things that made them different did not matter, that we did not value the made-to-order burgers enough to wait an extra 2 minutes, that we did not value the carpeted dining room enough to walk inside instead of using the drive-through, that we did not value the soul of the place enough to pay an extra $1. And Wendy's listened. They stopped investing in the things we said we did not care about. They ripped out the carpet because it was expensive to maintain, and we were not sitting on it anyway. They got rid of the salad bar because it was a liability, and we were ordering burgers anyway. They automated the kitchen because we wanted speed, and we did not care who made the burger as long as it was fast. They gave us exactly what we asked for, and we are mad about it, because we did not realize what we were asking for was the death of the thing we loved. This is not just about Wendy's. This is about all of us. This is about what happens when we prioritize convenience over everything else, when we choose efficiency over humanity, when we accept that everything has to be fast and cheap and scalable and profitable. We lose the things that made life worth living. The small moments, the local places, the businesses that cared, the people who showed up. We trade all of that for an app that delivers a burger to our door in 20 minutes. And we wonder why everything feels hollow. Wendy's is still here. The business is fine. But the Wendy's that mattered is gone. The Wendy's that Dave built. The Wendy's that felt like home. The Wendy's that made you feel like someone cared, whether you enjoyed your meal. The Wendy's is dead. And we killed it. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but through 1,000 small choices. 1,000 moments when we chose convenience over connection, speed over soul, cheap over caring. We can blame Wendy's. We can blame corporate greed. We can blame the consultants who told them to rip out the carpet and put in concrete. We can blame the franchise owners who prioritize profit over people. And sure, they are responsible. They made the decisions. They did the work. But we gave them permission. We gave them the incentive. We showed them that we did not care. And they believed us. The Wendy's you remember is not coming back. The carpet is not coming back. The Tiffany lamps are not coming back. The salad bar is not coming back. Dave is not coming back. That era is over. What we have now is efficient, modern, profitable, and completely forgettable. A place that sells burgers. Nothing more. Nothing less. Just another option in a world full of options. And maybe that is fine. Maybe that is enough. Maybe we do not need Wendy's to be special. Maybe we just need it to be there. Fast, cheap, open late, a square burger and a Frosty. That is it. That is all. But every once in a while, when you are sitting in your car in a Wendy's parking lot, eating a burger that tastes fine, but does not taste like anything, you might remember. You might remember what it used to be like. The carpet, the lamps, the feeling that someone cared. And you might feel something. Not quite sadness, not quite nostalgia, just a quiet recognition that something was lost, something that mattered, something we did not appreciate until it was gone. And by then, it was too late. We had already moved on. We had already stopped caring. And so did Wendy's. In the 2000s, Wendy started selling key tags, little plastic rectangles you could attach to your keychain. They cost $2. And if you bought one, you got free Junior Frosties for an entire year. Every time you went to Wendy's, you showed the key tag, and they gave you a free Frosty. It was the cheapest loyalty program in fast food history. And it worked, because people are willing to do almost anything for free ice cream. The key tag was genius. Not because it was generous, but because it was not. $2 for a year of free Frosties sounds like a steal. And it is, if you are the customer. But if you are Wendy's, you just got someone to pay you $2 and commit to coming back over and over again for an entire year. The key tag was not about giving away free Frosties. It was about creating a habit, getting you in the door, making Wendy's part of your routine. Most people did not just get a free Frosty. They got a Frosty and a burger, or a Frosty and fries, or a Frosty and a whole meal, because you do not drive to Wendy's just for a free Frosty. You feel guilty. You feel like you should buy something. So you do, and Wendy's just made $5 off your $2 key tag. The math worked, for them. And people did not care, because they were getting free Frosties. And that felt like winning. The key tag also became a status symbol. A small one, a stupid one, but still. If you had a Wendy's key tag on your keychain, it meant you went to Wendy's enough to justify buying it. It meant you were part of the club, the people who knew about the key tag, the people who were smart enough to game the system. Except you were not gaming the system. The system was gaming you. But it felt like you were winning. And feeling like you are winning is almost as good as actually winning. Wendy sold the key tags for charity. At least that is what they said. Part of the proceeds went to the Dave Thomas Foundation for adoption. So you were not just buying a key tag. You were helping kids. You were doing something good. And getting free Frosties. It was a perfect pitch. Guilt-free consumption. You could feel virtuous and selfish at the same time. And people loved it. The key tags sold out every year. Wendy's made them limited edition. Different colors, different designs, collectible. People bought multiple key tags. One for their keys, one for their spouse's keys, one for their kid's backpack. They were $2. It was nothing. But $2 times 1 million people is $2 million. Plus all the burgers and fries those people bought when they came in for their free Frosties. Wendy's was printing money with a piece of plastic that cost them pennies to produce. But the key tag program also revealed something uncomfortable. It revealed that loyalty is cheap. That you can buy customer loyalty for $2. That people do not need to love your brand or believe in your mission or connect with your values. They just need a small incentive, a tiny reward, a piece of plastic that makes them feel like they are getting a deal. And they will come back, over and over, not because they want to, but because they feel like they should, because they already paid for it, because it would be wasteful not to use it. The key tag turned customers into addicts. Not food addicts, habit addicts, people who went to Wendy's not because they wanted Wendy's, but because they had a key tag and it felt wrong not to use it. The key tag sat on their keychain, a constant reminder. You have free Frosties. You should go to Wendy's. And they did, even when they did not want to, even when there were better options. Because the key tag made them feel obligated. And obligation is a powerful motivator. Wendy's still sells the key tags every year. Different designs, same deal. $2 for a year of free Frosties. And people still buy them. Because it is still a good deal. Because it still feels like winning. Because people have not figured out yet that the key tag is not about the Frosty. It is about control. It is about making you come back. It is about turning you into a recurring customer with a $2 piece of plastic. And it works. Every single time. In 2015, Wendy's launched the 4 for $4 deal. 4 items for $4. A burger, fries, nuggets, a drink. It was the cheapest meal deal in fast food. And it destroyed any remaining illusion that Wendy's was a premium option. They were in the race to the bottom now, fighting for customers who counted pennies. And once you start that race, you cannot stop. You can only go faster. The 4 for $4 was a response to McDonald's and Burger King. Both chains were fighting over the budget-conscious customer, the person who had $5 and needed to eat. Wendy's wanted that customer too, so they undercut everyone. 4 items, $4. You could not beat that. Not at McDonald's, not at Burger King. Wendy's won the race to the bottom, and the prize was customers who would leave the moment someone went cheaper. The deal worked. People loved it. $4 for a meal. A full meal, not just a burger, not just fries. A burger, fries, nuggets, and a drink. That was lunch. That was dinner. That was food for an entire day if you were desperate enough. And people were desperate. The economy was recovering from the recession, but not for everyone. Wages were stagnant. Prices were rising. People needed cheap food, and Wendy's gave it to them. But the 4 for $4 also sent a message. It said, Wendy's is cheap, not affordable. Cheap. There is a difference. Affordable means you offer good value for the price. Cheap means you are competing on price alone. And when you compete on price alone, you lose your identity. You become a commodity, an interchangeable option. The place you go when you are broke, not the place you go when you want something good. The margins on the 4 for $4 were razor thin. Wendy's was barely making money on it. Maybe not making money at all. But they were getting people in the door. And once people were in the door, maybe they would order something else. Maybe they would upgrade. Maybe they would buy 2 4 for $4s instead of 1. Maybe they would come back next week. That was the hope. That was the gamble. It did not work out that way. People who ordered the 4 for $4 just ordered the 4 for $4. They did not upgrade. They did not add extras. They got exactly what they paid for and nothing more. Because people who are counting pennies do not splurge. They do not impulse buy. They budget. They calculate. They get the most food for the least money and they leave. And Wendy's was left with customers who were loyal to the deal, not the brand. The 4 for $4 also trained people to expect cheap food. Once you have eaten a full meal for $4, paying $8 for a meal feels like robbery. Even if the $8 meal is bigger, better, fresher. It does not matter. You have been anchored at $4, and anything above that feels expensive. Wendy's created their own problem. They taught people that food should cost $4, and now they could not charge more without losing those customers. Other chains copied the deal. McDonald's launched a similar deal. Burger King did the same. Taco Bell went even cheaper. The race to the bottom accelerated. Everyone was trying to offer the most food for the least money. Quality did not matter. Ingredients did not matter. Profit margins did not matter. The only thing that mattered was being the cheapest. And Wendy's, the chain that built its reputation on fresh, never-frozen beef, was right there in the mud with everyone else, fighting over customers who would leave for $1. The 444 is still on the menu, or some version of it. The price has gone up. Inflation, rising costs. You cannot sell 4 items for $4 anymore and stay in business. Now it is $5 or $6. And people are mad about it because they do not understand economics. They do not understand that food costs money, labor costs money, everything costs money. They just know that the 444 used to be $4 and now it is not. And they feel betrayed. The 444 deal was Wendy's surrender, a white flag, an admission that they could not compete on quality anymore, could not compete on experience, could not compete on anything except price. And price is a losing game, because there is always someone willing to go cheaper, always someone willing to cut more corners, always someone willing to race faster to the bottom. And Wendy's, the chain that Dave Thomas built on not cutting corners, was now sprinting toward the bottom as fast as they could, just to survive. In 2017, a rumor started spreading online. Wendy's was using frozen beef, not everywhere, not officially, but at some locations, some franchises, some desperate managers cutting costs. The rumor was never fully confirmed. Wendy's denied it. But the fact that people believed it, the fact that it was plausible, said everything about how far Wendy's had fallen. And fresh, never frozen, was supposed to be sacred, untouchable, the one thing Wendy's would never compromise on. And people were not sure anymore. The rumor started on Reddit. Someone claimed they worked at Wendy's and their location had started using frozen beef. They posted photos, freezer bags with Wendy's logos, frozen patties stacked in a walk-in freezer. The post went viral. People were outraged, confused, betrayed. Wendy's had one job: fresh beef. That was the whole point. If Wendy's was using frozen beef, what was the difference between them and McDonald's? Why would anyone choose Wendy's? Wendy's responded quickly. They released a statement. All Wendy's locations use fresh, never frozen beef. It is company policy. It is non-negotiable. Any location found using frozen beef would be in violation of their franchise agreement. The statement was clear, firm, but it did not stop the rumors. Because the photos were real, the freezer was real, and people had worked at enough fast food restaurants to know that company policy and actual practice are not always the same thing. The truth was probably somewhere in the middle, probably a few rogue franchises, probably managers who were desperate to cut costs and thought they could get away with it, probably limited, isolated, not widespread. But it happened, or it probably happened, and that was enough, because Wendy's had spent 50 years building trust on one promise: fresh beef. And the moment people started questioning that promise, the trust cracked. The incident revealed a deeper problem. Wendy's had become too big to control. Too many franchises, too many locations, too many people making decisions. Corporate could set policies. They could write rules. They could send inspectors. But they could not be everywhere. They could not watch every manager, every cook, every delivery. At some point, you have to trust that people are following the rules. And when the rules are the only thing separating you from your competition, you better hope people are following them. Wendy spent decades telling customers to trust them. Trust that the beef is fresh. Trust that we are not cutting corners. Trust that we are different. And people did trust them for a long time. But trust is fragile. It takes years to build and seconds to destroy. And the frozen beef rumor, true or not, planted a seed of doubt. Maybe Wendy's is not different. Maybe they are just like everyone else. Maybe fresh beef is just marketing. The rumor also exposed how little fresh beef mattered to most customers. Sure, people were outraged when they heard about it. They posted angry comments. They threatened to boycott. But most of them kept eating at Wendy's because the burger tasted the same, because they did not actually notice a difference, because fresh beef is one of those things people say they care about, but do not actually care about enough to change their behavior. Wendy's survived the rumor. Sales did not tank. Locations did not close. The story faded. People moved on. But something changed. The aura was gone. The certainty was gone. Wendy's used to be the place you could trust, the place that would never betray the one thing that made them different. And now they were just another fast food chain with a marketing slogan: fresh, never frozen. Probably, most of the time, as far as we know. The frozen beef incident was a warning, a sign that Wendy's was losing control, that the standards were slipping, that the thing Dave Thomas built, the thing he cared about more than anything, was becoming just another corporate talking point. Fresh beef was not sacred anymore. It was not a promise. It was just words on a menu board. And words are cheap, especially when nobody is checking to make sure they are true. So that is the story, the rise, the peak, the slow fade. Wendy's in all its carpeted, square-pattied, frosty-dipped glory. And what it became: a ghost kitchen, a Twitter account, a $4 meal deal, a logo on a delivery app. You might still go to Wendy's. You might pull into the drive-thru tonight. Order a burger, get your food, drive away. And it will be fine. The burger will taste like a burger. The fries will taste like fries. The Frosty will still be cold and thick and perfect for dipping. Nothing will be wrong. But nothing will be special either. Because Wendy's is not special anymore. It is just there. Another option. Another choice. Another square patty in a world full of round ones. And maybe that is okay. Maybe we do not need Wendy's to be special. Maybe we do not need carpeted dining rooms and Tiffany lamps and salad bars piled 3 feet high. Maybe we just need cheap food delivered fast. Maybe that is enough. Maybe efficiency is better than warmth. Maybe convenience is better than connection. Maybe the future is ghost kitchens and touchscreen kiosks and never having to see another human being just to get a burger. Maybe that is progress. But I do not think it is. I think we lost something. Something small. Something that probably did not matter in the grand scheme of things. A fast food restaurant with carpet. A founder who showed up in commercials because he actually cared. A place that felt a little warmer, a little more human, a little less like a transaction, and a little more like someone actually wanted you to enjoy your meal. We lost that, and we are not getting it back. Dave Thomas died in 2002, but Wendy's died long before that. It died in pieces, a little bit at a time. Every time they ripped out the carpet. Every time they removed a Tiffany lamp. Every time they chose efficiency over soul. Every time they tried to be more like McDonald's instead of more like themselves. It died slowly, quietly. And most people did not even notice. Because we were too busy ordering through apps and eating in our cars and scrolling through Twitter to see that the thing we loved was disappearing. The Wendy's you remember is gone. The one with the salad bar. The one where Dave stood in front of a grill and told you the burger was fresh and you believed him. The one that felt like home. That Wendy's does not exist anymore. What exists now is a company, a brand, a collection of locations that sell square burgers and spicy nuggets and frosty Cinos. It is fine. It is functional. It is profitable. But it is not Wendy's. Not really. It is just a ghost wearing a familiar face. And here is the hardest part. The part nobody wants to admit. We did this, not Wendy's. Us. We chose speed. We chose convenience. We chose cheap. We stopped going inside. We stopped caring about the carpet. We stopped valuing the things that made Wendy's different. And when we stopped caring, Wendy's stopped caring too. Because why would they invest in warmth if we were just going to eat in the parking lot? Why would they maintain the dining room if we were just going to order through DoorDash? Why would they be special if we were just going to treat them like every other option? We got exactly what we asked for. Fast, cheap, efficient, delivered. We got the Wendy's we deserved. And it turns out the Wendy's we deserved is not the Wendy's we wanted. But it is too late now. The choice has been made. The future has arrived. And it smells like a ghost kitchen in a warehouse somewhere, pumping out square burgers for people who will never see where they came from. So go ahead. Order your Wendy's. Dip your fries in your Frosty. Enjoy your breakfast Baconator. There is nothing wrong with any of it. But know what you are eating. Know what it used to be. Know what was lost. Because once you know, you cannot unknow. Once you remember, you cannot forget. And every burger after that will taste just a little bit different. Not worse, just different. Emptier. Like something is missing. Because something is missing. The thing that made it matter. The thing that made it Wendy's. It is 1970 now. The first location just opened. Dave is behind the counter. His daughter's face is on the logo. The carpet is soft under your feet. The Tiffany lamp glows warm overhead. A square burger is sizzling on the grill. Made fresh, never frozen. Made for you. And for one brief moment, everything is exactly as it should be. Hold on to that moment, because it is already gone. Thanks for watching, or listening, or falling asleep to this. I appreciate every single one of you. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not already. And drop a comment telling me what you remember about the old Wendy's. What did I get wrong? What did I miss? What do you wish you could have one more time? And remember, we are on Spotify now. So if you would rather listen while you drive or fall asleep, or pretend you are back in 1976, eating a burger in a carpeted dining room, the link is in the description. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry. And maybe, just maybe, go inside instead of using the drive-thru. Sit down, look around, see what is left, before it is all gone. See you in the next one.